everybody. Welcome back to the Know and Follow podcast. We're back after a little bit of a hiatus because we were figuring out some things in November. But I'm excited about this one. We grabbed Pastor Bill Young, who is our associate worship pastor. Is that the assistant worship
That's
pastor?
right.
Okay, there we go. Associate worship pastor. And we want to talk about Christmas. So, hi, Bill. How you doing?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, it's going to be fun. So we're going into kind of the Christmas season here at Grace Community Church. We're recording this. It's December 3rd?
Third today.
Yeah, December 3rd. And you guys have Christmas rehearsals coming up. But before we kind of get into that, let's talk about kind of your journey here to Grace Community Church. You've been here now about a year and a half.
Right.
Talk about your first Christmas and then into now going into your second one.
Yeah, it's been quite the journey. First Christmas for me was a massive uphill learning battle because there's a lot of moving parts at GCC. And to figure all that out, I was kind of deer in headlights for a while there. But what I found in the process when I was all said and done and had been accomplished was, number one, how much I loved it. The fact that we have our team that does Christmas the way they do it, it's high dedication, high offering, and that's a beautiful thing. And to get done and look back and say, wow, look at what we did, was great joy. So yeah, that was a fun first year. Hard, but definitely worth it. So I feel like got my feet under me for this year.
Right. I actually remember kind of my second year and what it felt like to be like, okay, I've done this before. And it did feel like comforting, but I think you're always trying to push to that next thing.
Yeah.
And what's it been like kind of going into this year?
It's been really a lot more comfortable, first off, going into it, recognizing what we're looking at. It doesn't always have to be hard. As we plan for Christmas, as I work with Alyssa, and we look at what's going to come down the pike, it's the expectation that says, you know what, it all boils down to just a desire to worship and to do that as well as we can. And so my focus has always been on that. I know Alyssa centers herself there, and to be able to just anticipate a great, exciting way to do that, that's engaging for people and that doesn't have to be strange or complicated, but that just centers on Jesus. Mm-hmm. That's a comfort place for me. It's also a stretch place that says there's so much you can do with that. So I love the creativity of what we're stepping into with this season, but I also love the fact that it's just so grounded. That feels good.
Yeah, so let's talk about kind of the process. So the preaching team comes up with the idea that our theme will be unexpected, right? That this series that we started was this idea of that we see elements of grace throughout the Christmas story in the not thinking of the word, the genealogy of Jesus, and that would lead in. How does that get to you and Alyssa? What role does kind of like prayer play in it? Because I think like when people hear planning, they might see planning and prayer as opposites.
Sure.
But I don't think it plays out that way.
Never. Never. There's a sacred trust when you plan worship of any sort. And I think for us, the beginning point and the bathing point is always prayer. Everything we do is saturated in that. I know as the process begins and we start to look at the task of filling in the blanks, the question is always prevailing one of, God, what do you want here? Mm-hmm. What do you desire to accomplish, and what are you drawing me towards to be able to fill these spaces with? So for us, there's a dependency factor from the start and throughout the process that says, okay, we really want to do something that's right for our people, that's right for our teams. But before and through all of that, it's one of, okay, so God, what's right from your perspective? And that's where we live throughout the process.
So we get in the song selection. You guys are given basically kind of broad themes for each service. Mm-hmm. And then a meeting where you guys kind of plan that out, and then that's where song selection comes from.
Essentially, I mean, you have the overall themes, and that begins to drive ideas.
Right.
And with ideas also come, okay, so how does that translate into who we are? What are our people able to do? Where are our highs and lows, and how do we capitalize on our strengths? All those factors go into that. And then you begin to have the emergent ideas that says, well, what if? And you consider those in light of who you have and what you're doing. And that really has kind of driven the diversity of our design this year, because God just keeps bringing people into our ministry with great gifts and such a broad expanse. So, I mean, we've got rock band, we've got big band, we've got a jazz ensemble, we've got a choral ensemble. It all comes down to, okay, so here's the ideas we're conveying and here's how we get to convey them based on who we have.
Right, because part of what you guys do is create space for people to use their gifts.
That's really well said.
Right.
Yeah. And it's such a cool thing. And sometimes it feels backwards by instinct, but it's so not in our department. It's one of, I believe that it's 1 Corinthians. It says that Christ orders the church. He builds it exactly as he wants. And he's brought to us exactly who and what he desires to be in terms of worship leading. And so that really does shape some of what we are. Ideas come, and then we flesh those out literally. And it's always a surprise, especially as you have newcomers to the team. And I love that.
Right.
Just to be able to introduce fresh people along with fresh ideas, it's a great thing.
Yeah, and volunteer commitment, it's always the tough balance, I think, as a ministry leader. I feel this, and I think you guys do too, of not wanting to ask too little of people, but not wanting to ask too much of people.
It's always the tension. Yeah. It's so easy to go overboard and ask a million things, and we have to be respecters, not just of people's time, but also to be able to use it effectively.
Yeah.
One of my priorities in the department is always we're building musical disciples.
Right.
So how do I give people something that they can sink their teeth into that's really fun and good, but that draws them towards Jesus, but that also draws them into a deeper place of their musical development too.
Right.
And we have such great people. You almost don't have to ask them. They'll go that distance.
Right.
But that's our balance and tension. And to be able to do that in a way that's time respecting.
Right.
Yeah, that's quite a tap dance.
Because we have some volunteers who are doing all 4 Christmas Eve services. Right. We have some volunteers who are doing 1 or 2 or just 1. And that's, you guys are navigating, kind of figuring out that piece. And it's why I say it's an interesting tension is I think my first inclination was always, well, I don't want to ask. And then you get to where people are going, well, I want to be asked.
So what a pleasant surprise that is too. And it shouldn't be, I mean, you learn not to let it be a surprise.
Right.
But people are so willing and they're hungry in many ways. So to give them those opportunities is a great thing.
Yeah. I remember a conversation once where I was saying, I feel weird about asking these photographers to take pictures during a service because they get paid to take pictures outside of church. And we talked about like, well, I mean, we wouldn't say that about a musician. You know what I mean? Like if somebody was a professional percussionist or something, we wouldn't say, oh, that person, they would never want to play in church because it's their job. I mean, it's what they do. I mean, like, why wouldn't they want to do it?
This is my gift.
Right.
Yeah, exactly that.
So going into Christmas, what are some things kind of you're looking forward to? What does with the service crafted kind of I mean what are some elements that you're looking forward to? I know we have a couple preludes in there and then some songs that we've selected and stuff like that. Yeah,
the music speaks for itself. I think for me it always centers on we pick music that's meaningful. And for me, that comes in 2 different stages. For me, the music always comes first, and the lyrics come second. But it's funny, in the longer term, the lyrics are always what stick with me. And that's where I find myself centering on the Savior through all of that. So for me, I look at these songs and I say, wow, these genuinely take us biblically with depth, and they're taking us just into a place of worship that remembers what it is that Jesus has done. The incarnation is it's an amazing miracle, and we will be stepping all through that for this service. So that's a high point for me.
So trying to use lyrics and music to communicate kind of those spiritual realities.
For me, a service of worship is always about remembering, and remembering prompts something within me. So these lyrics are evocative in that way. They're going to take you into what you've heard from Scripture. They're going to take you into places and experiences that they're moving. And I think that movement within prompts something to move out of the mouth, to move out of the heart.
Yeah. No, I think that's really cool. So talk about the balance of you guys as musicians. I'm sure there's a temptation, maybe not, but like new songs, right? Like every year, some worship band, some musician comes out with like a song or an arrangement that's new and exciting. But if you guys do wall-to-wall new stuff, people are kind of be looking at you guys like, and I think that's probably a challenge you guys have all year, right?
All the time.
Figuring out new. So talk about kind of how you balance that tension, because you want to not have, we haven't changed the songbook since 2001, but you also don't. We've all been in church services, and I don't think I'm coming off the wrong way with this, where it's like I didn't know one of those songs.
What do I do with this?
Right.
Yeah. I think there is a balance that you work to maintain. Jesus has been very clear. The New Testament gives us the instruction to sing a new song. And yet at the same time, I recognize that the best worship comes when I'm familiar with something. And Christmas especially is a time where we've got the tradition of carols, we've got all the hymns behind us, and people need those. We want those, we rely on those. So therein lies the balance. And I think we have the delight of being able to take all of that. That's a pretty cool painter's palette to be able to say, well, I get to dab and do these things. For us, the importance, we're never driven by a need to have to do everything new. That's just not an issue for me. The primary goal is to enable our congregation to be able to worship well. And for us, there needs to be a freshness to all of that, and not a stagnancy. But the stagnancy only comes, I think, when we're not venturing. So we're going to bring a freshness to the table. We balance it with perhaps something new, but it's always coupled with the familiar that people can be able to latch onto, rely onto, and just savor as we go into that. So,
right, because I think especially with Christmas, people can remember. My mom used to sing this song. People can remember we sang this song as a family. People can, you know what I mean? That piece, and you certainly want to, there's a connectedness to that for sure, in a good way, in a way that kind of honors what came before.
Yeah.
So how can people be praying for the worship department, leaders and volunteers over the next month?
Great question. This month is for us the Super Bowl in many different ways. While there's not really a game in play here, it's certainly one of the preparation and the work that's going to go into this is huge. So for us, we're pouring time and effort in heavier now than what we typically do at any other time during the year. So pray especially for our volunteers, because the time they're putting in on dress rehearsals, preparation, these separate sectional kinds of things, that's huge. For leadership, that's the percussion section.
Yeah, that's the, there's construction on the very other side of my wall. So nothing we can do about that.
For leadership, I think for us, it's being able to support our teams with sensitivity that says we're driving for an end goal. We're making sure this comes out well and getting everybody ready, but we want to make sure that you've got the space and the time in this to be able to breathe and recognize that this is about a heart condition and a heart expression, and to give people the space to do that. It's incredibly important.
That's good. That's good. Well, hey, Bill, thanks so much for making time. I appreciate it a bunch, and we're definitely praying for you guys as we go into the season.
Thanks for having me, Addison.
Yeah, man. Fun times.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Know and Follow podcast. This podcast is a production of Grace Community Church of Willow Street, located at 212 Peach Bottom Road in Willow Street, Pennsylvania. If you're looking for a place to worship, we'd love to have you join us. Our services are Saturdays at 6 p.m., Sundays at 8, 9:15, and 11 a.m. This podcast is hosted, produced, and edited by Pastor Addison Roberts, the digital pastor of Grace Community Church. You can learn more about our church at gccws.net. Our theme music is Only the Brave Run Wild by Sounds Like Sander. If you enjoy this episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a friend. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.